Welcome back to our current events panel. Joining me again are Peter Stock and Mike Patton. Okay, we're going to change topics now and discuss a recent bylaw that was passed at the City of Toronto, but there have been similar bylaws in various jurisdictions and municipalities in this country. It's called a bubble zone. So maybe I'll start with you, Mike. Can you explain to us what is a bubble zone and why we should be concerned?
Well, this was originally started around abortion clinics where the people felt that it was too much of an intimidation tactic to allow any sort of free speech protest around an abortion clinic. So it was made illegal to protest a certain radius around an abortion clinic. Municipalities are now trying to extend this, in the case of Toronto, to educational facilities and religious facilities. In the case of Ottawa, they wanted to extend it to hospitals and medical centers across the board as well.
So, Peter, what is the impetus here? Because Mike is right. Traditionally, the word bubble zone has been associated with surrounding hospitals and abortion clinics to stave off pro-life, I guess, activism and advocacy. So, I mean, that's a clampdown on free speech, certainly. But now we're seeing again schools, places of worship. What is driving that expansion?
Well, you could argue it's well intentioned. However, I would point out that there are laws in place already to deal with problems, especially around places of worship. I mean, if I take that as an example, it's a criminal code offense to interfere with a worship service.
Right.
Um, and should we really be banning protests outside of schools? I mean, if we think of the typical protests, like I'm for mayonnaise over margarine or whatever, people might be protesting down by City Hall, which is where they usually go, or down at the legislature. Um, you know. What if the school has done something poorly? What if they're upset at the principal for hiring an inappropriate teacher or an inappropriate action that's happened in the classroom? Should parents not be allowed to picket on a public sidewalk outside the school? I find this outrageous. This is a violation. Once again, we're seeing this happen with more regularity in Canada. If your protest doesn't fit the narrative, once again, we're gonna crush it, and this is another attempt to do that.
Yeah, and I think this is it's a very heavy-handed approach to deal with what I think in the last couple of years has been a lot of protest activity surrounding Israel and Palestine. I think that may
Yeah.
be where this is coming from. But when you have teachers taking students on field trips that engage in protests against Israel, etc., like what are we really talking about here? I don't think that's necessarily the problem. I I don't like political agendas and ideologies being forced in schools for certain. Everybody knows that many people will know my stance on that. That being said, if something is going wrong at the school and parents need to express themselves or they feel their child's in harm's way and nobody's listening, of course you should protest. You recall in the Halton School Board, which is a school board in Ontario, there was a male teacher in the shop class who wore prosthetic breasts that caused a lot of controversy in the classroom. I think he has since been put on leave or has left on his own. I can't recall. But there were protests at that school because the school board wasn't taking it seriously and they weren't acting quick enough, especially at the school. That protest no longer could occur because of this bubble zone if it were expanded to that. It's definitely a silencing of civic voices. What other alternatives do we have if we can't protest? And is this just a slippery slope, Mike? What else can be added to the list?
Well, it really is a slippery slope, and there's a lot of people who really believe that this will not stand a charter challenge. In Ottawa, the same sort of bylaw was proposed, and it's since been tabled because the lawyers, even the city lawyers, were concerned that it wouldn't survive a charter challenge. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But what this means, this is so crazy. We were talking about the Canada Post strike. If teachers were to believe that they were underpaid and they protested the school, across the street, on their own time, they would be in breach of the law, according to this bubble zone law.
So there's no carve out for teacher protests.
No.
Hmm. Wow. And there is a charter challenge, I think, pursuing the Calgary free speech bubble zone law that was passed, I think, about 2 years ago. So we'll have to follow that. And I have a feeling all these municipalities who are trying to, I don't know, be avant-garde by passing draconian laws. It seems draconian to me.
And it
We'll have to
was
see.
it's so rigid in the case of abortion clinics. People have been arrested and charged and convicted for silently praying within the bubble zone near an abortion clinic. So this is going to be challenged by the charter, and I don't think it's going to hold up.
But the bubble zone clinic on the abortion clinics, that's a provincial issue, and that was passed in Ontario, I believe, 2017. Anyhow, we're
Yeah.
going to pivot to another topic. We'll be right back.